Okay, so I've been receiving some questions about how I'm using Docusign, so I thought I'd go ahead and record a little video here to show you how I am using it. Um, I can say that there's probably a lot of different ways to use Docusign, and they're probably all correct. This just happens to be the way that I've set it up for my spas that seems to be working out well. The first question I seem to get a lot of is which plan I'm on. So I am on this standard business plan at $25 a month or $300 a year. Primarily, the reason for that was this limitation of 5 documents a month on the personal versus that limitation being removed on the standard. That was something that I needed. In terms of users, I use one user for all 4 of my spas. So, from that perspective, we really do just have the one user. We're not utilizing a lot of different users to keep that fee down to the $25 a month or $300 a year. So when I go into DocuSign, this is the screen that I get when I first log in. I go to my templates, and I'm just going to walk through a cancellation so that you can see what that looks like. I have them organized with my spa locations, so I can easily select a spa location. And if I have a member termination request, I'm going to go ahead and hit use on that template. And when I do that, what it does is it comes up and it prompts me to fill in both my manager and then the member. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in myself for both of them so that you can see how this works and the way that I'm using it. And so I'll just use 2 of my different email addresses. And I'll go ahead and hit send here. And that will go ahead and send off that document. And the way that I have mine set up is it will go to the manager first. So I can see that I'm getting this email here at my manager or the email address that I put in for the manager. And I can go ahead and hit review document. And then that's going to come up into DocuSign. And the way they're using this in my spa is the manager's obviously filling out that way, and it prompts the manager to go ahead and fill in some of the particular items that are applicable for the manager to fill out. So maybe you can kind of pick your data here of what makes sense that they're going to fill in, based on that particular member's accounts. Something along those lines, and then they'll go ahead and hit finish. And because we've set it up this way and set the signing order, which I'll show you kind of in the next step, that's what causes it to go to the manager first and primarily. And then it will go to the member after that. So I'll go ahead and hit close on that. And now I'm able to go back into my email. I've got a second email, and this one here is to my Gmail address, which is the one that I entered when I was using the template for the member. So now, as the member, I can come in, hit review. Of course, I have to agree to using the electronic signatures. And this comes in and it requires me, as you can see with these options, to select at least one of the options. So, maybe you can check off therapist availability. It would allow you to check, multiple other ones if there was, multiple reasons that the member wanted to check off. Then it's just the regular form, right? So we're going to initial that we don't want to freeze. We're going to initial for no bi-monthly. You can see the information that I had filled in as the manager now is automatically filled into the form. So once the member sees it, they do have all that information. And you can go ahead and hit sign and then hit finish there. And when I go ahead and do that, and then close this menu, you will see that we'll get an email, a completion email, to both of those email addresses. So both the one that I was using as the member, as well as the one that I was using as the manager, both get a completed notice, and that way then your manager knows to go ahead and pull down that document and process it. And we're currently pulling down those PDFs and uploading them into Millennium, and here very shortly we'll be doing that in Zenoti as well. That is a question that I've gotten a number of times, is if this will still be necessary with Zenoti. My understanding is that we will still be using DocuSign for items such as the freeze forms, cancellation forms, bi-monthly, those sorts of things will not be handled inside of Zenoti, but of course Zenoti does have the ability to do intake forms and some of the other types of forms. So that's our intended use moving forward in the Zenoti world. So a little bit about setup. So let me go to DocuSign here in the templates, and let me show you editing a template if these are if you're going to want to set these up. And so I'll go ahead and go into edit. These edit steps are exactly the same as when you're setting up a document for the first time. So you go ahead and upload your form. This, of course, is the Hand and Stone provided termination request form. And you put in your placeholders here. So this is where I set up that I wanted to put in a manager and a member, and the signing order is what enforces that this happens, that it goes to the manager first and then the member, versus if you don't set that, it'll just go to everybody at the same time. Also, if you have a form that only the member has to fill out, but for example, you want the manager to get a copy, you can go ahead and change this to receives a copy. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up my form. But if you do that, then the manager or whichever email you use when you're filling that in, they'll get a copy of the document, a notice when it gets completed. And so if they need to do something to respond on their end, they can go ahead and do that. Then when you hit next, you can see you're going to come in and be able to set up a number of different items. And so you can see over here, you can select manager or member. So any of the yellow fields are designated as items that the manager has to fill out. Anything that's blue is member, based on how I had set up the signers on the previous page. And so you can see then when I come in here, for example, all of these text boxes that I've selected, I can come down to validation and it says they have to select at least one. You can pick, exactly one or whatever, depending on the form that you're working through. And then you can see all of these items that are here. You can also notice on the fill-in dates, for example, this fill-in date for the manager, you can see that it's a required field, and that way the manager does have to update that field when they go ahead and go into the document. If you uncheck that, it changes it so it's a white background versus the yellow background. That lets you know whether or not it's required. And then I have these items set over here on the other side as read only, so that I can't have a manager accidentally change the form and update those items. So then you go ahead and hit next. This will show you a recap of the form. You can change your template names. The other thing that's kind of useful in here is you can set automatic reminders. So we have ours set to send every 3 days and then expire after 8 days. So a member gets that message 3 times that they need to go ahead and fill out that form. And if they haven't yet filled it out at that time, then we want them to call back and talk to us, because some of this information that the manager has filled out might have changed if they take too long to complete that document. And so then we'll go ahead and hit save template, and that is kind of how we're using the templates and how we're creating templates. Of course, you can go in here and create. You can see we've created a bunch of different templates that we're using for different purposes. We did set up the membership agreements. We do know that you've got the deemed approved, but we figured if we can get a DocuSign signature as well, then that's just one extra step that we thought would be kind of nice. I am also going to take some of these and make them generic and provide the templates as well. And so I don't know if Cindy will be able to provide those, but if she does, then you can actually, rather than creating your template, you can also come in here and upload a template and that way utilize some of the things that have already been created. However, in order to get this upload template item to show up, you do have to make a change in your admin settings. So you have to go into admin there, and you have to go down to sending settings, and there's a checkbox down here that says enable template upload. So you're going to want to check that box and hit save in order to get that template upload to show up. But once you do that, then you will get that upload button, and you can go ahead and hit upload template and pull in templates that way. So that's kind of how we're using it. You can see I've got things organized into folders, and that has worked for us well. And we're also using it for the new employee sanitation sign off. So we're using it both on the employee and the customer side. So hopefully that's helpful, and I hope everybody's doing well in this COVID time, and looking forward to reopening across the country.